Hello and welcome back to Toby's Sticks and Stones story explanations. Let's, to give you a little bit of insight, a little bit of information about some of the songs that are going to be in my lyric book. Like I say, it's called Sticks and Stones: My Life in Words, which will be coming out at the end of September and is on pre-order now. I think one of the key significant songs from the Little Angels period is Big Bad World. It was a bit of an anomaly, really, because it was, I would probably say that song, this song, Big Bad World, and No Solution are the two first real songs that I wrote on my own. I mean, even though it has the band's names all over it, and there's good reason for that, actually the song was mine. I wrote it. And it was kind of a revelatory moment. I remember I was living at my mum and dad's house still, of course, and I used to have my guitar and my dictaphone. That's all I used to have, an acoustic guitar and my dictaphone. It was like a cassette player, and I used to spend hours in my bedroom just working on ideas, working on songs, listening to music, etc. And I don't really know where it came from. It's partially influenced by an Alcatraz song called God Bless Video, which was on an album called Disturbing the Peace, I think, and that had Graham Bonnet the Graham Bonnet who sang for Rainbow, of course. He was a singer with that band, and it had Steve Vai in the band, and I know that we as a band loved that record. But I knew that song for years before Little Angels were formed, but I think it was kind of one of my favourite tunes. And what happens when you're a writer is that you obviously influenced by lots of other people. Anyone that says that they're not influenced by all of their heroes in their songwriting is lying. What we really are is standing on the shoulders of giants, like I'm always saying. And what it is, it's a filtering system. We're all kind of glorious thieves, I think. I think that's the way I would look at it. We borrow, we steal, we beg ideas from each other, and the whole idea is it's a jumping off point. Then you go off and make your own version of it, type of thing. That's happened through history. It's everything that every band that's any good has ever done, and it's a very important part of songwriting. Eventually you kind of get beyond it a little bit, and you use it as a different way. It's a slightly more phantom-like, if you like, probably the best word to describe it. But at this particular point in my writing career, I was listening to stuff, and several months later, the sort of filtering of the ideas, I would channel that into often an idea I didn't know where it had come from until I examined it, sort of thing. So I think this is a good example of that. But I remember it popping into my head, the idea of Big Bad World, and I just thought, that's a cool title. Don't know where it came from. I might have read it, might have seen it in a newspaper. This is often the great thing about this stuff is it's a kind of, it's subconscious. These things come into your consciousness, as you're walking down the street, and you don't figure it out until later on, and when it just pops up. But I remember writing it very quickly. This was one of the first moments in my life I started to realize I could write songs, because it happened really quickly. And it's a very, very simple tune, the essence of it, So I kind of took, I guess I took the tempo and the rhythmic aspects of God Bless Video, up tempo, fast, fun, and applied this concept of Big Bad World. And I really like the words. I call it an anomaly because actually it's, I think, a really good set of lyrics, which was kind of odd because a lot of the songs that followed that song weren't that great. 90 in the Shade, Sex in Cars, things like that I've said before. They're not amazing lyrics, but I do think Big Bad World was a kind of indication to me, later on looking at it, that I could write these kind of quite interesting words. And I think when I took it to the band, everyone went, oh, that's great, and it very quickly came together as a very simple tune. It then evolved. We went into the studio a number of times to work on songs with various record labels, and I think Big Bad World was included in that. And in fact, Big Bad World became a focus track for working with James Jimbo Barton, who was the guy that essentially was instrumental in us getting our record deal from a production point of view. He was, and still is, he was a brilliant, well, still is a brilliant producer. He'd produced Queensryche. He'd worked with Peter Collins, who produced Rush and Queensryche, and Peter Collins was the brother of Susan Collins, who was our A&R lady at Polydor, and she introduced us to Jimbo. And what was brilliant about Jimbo is he was quite authoritarian. He was a lovely guy, but he was very much, right, we're doing it this way, we're going to do this. But he was fun. He was, even though it's a bit like a sort of a magnanimous dictator, I think we call it. And so he totally took us through our paces. He reinvented us. He took us apart. I remember we were working at No Miss Studios with him on Big Bad World, because that was the song that Susan wanted us to record to take into Polydor to give an example of what we could do. And so I think we had a 2-day period. The first day was working on the arrangement, and the second day with the recording. And so he came in and stripped the song out and really created this incredible arrangement. We put this whole thing together, the whole front of the double bass drum, kick drum thing with the fast guitars and all that stuff. Staggering sort of arrangement, really. But we went into the studio, and in I think it was Psalm West in London, or Psalm East, one of the Psalm studios, and we spent a 24-hour period recording that song. And it was Jimbo, like I say, he was very tough to work with. He didn't think that Dave Hopper sadly was up to it as a drummer, and so he programmed all of the drums on what was a thing called a Lin drum, which was a very early programming system. And he did all that, and he put it all together. We managed to record this whole song in 24 hours, including the mix, and it was just an incredible experience, you know. And that then became a sort of blueprint in a way for Polydor's interest. And of course, the reason why I'm thinking about Mike Lee is that we ended up re-recording it, of course, for the Don't Pray For Me album, and doing a different version of it. But actually, I've got to say, I prefer our demo version of it. I think the album version is great, but I think the demo version was something special. But again, it was a bit of a breakthrough moment for me as a lyricist, like I say, and I think a little bit of a breakthrough moment for me as a songwriter. And also, it definitely elevated the band in terms of what we thought we could do. Yeah.